This is an engineer's evaluation of the 2022 Mitsubishi Outlander. Hey everybody, Miller Highlights here. Listen, we're going to do an evaluation on the 2022 Mitsubishi Outlander. Now when I say evaluation, doesn't mean I'm going to give a product overview. There's lots of videos out doing product overviews. I used to be an automotive engineer for a major automotive manufacturer, and I used to do vehicle evaluations as my profession. And so what I'm going to do on the Mitsubishi Outlander 2022 is give a technical evaluation. Now when we do an evaluation, we usually do it on fit, finish, drivability, and safety features, and any concerns that arise. So we use a 5-point scale. Basically, nothing gets a 5.0 because there's always room for improvement. And something that may seem a 5.0 one day, next day really isn't a 5.0 anyway. You pick out issues, so it's just not a 5.0. 4.0 is about as good as it gets. And 4.0 means nobody's going to complain, works beautiful, and just everything's fine. Then below that you have 3.0, which means the system or the fit or finish, whatever, is as designed, and most likely most people won't complain about it. And then you have a 3+ and 4-, which is kind of in between those ranges. Now the next level down, which is a 2.0, that's where most people are going to complain. You got a pretty serious issue there. And between that, you got 2.5, where a lot of people will probably complain about it, but a lot of people won't too, And then 3- is some people may complain about it, but it's actually operating as designed. And then if you get below that, a 1.5 or 1.0, that's usually a stop sale. That's usually a major issue. Wheels falling off, panels loose, things of that nature, okay? So we're going to be using the 5-point scale on this evaluation. And that's going to include going around giving you a evaluation on the fit and finish, in addition to a drivability test, and giving my evaluation on the drivability itself. I do have to say, overall, it's a beautiful vehicle. Probably one of the nicest vehicles I've ever evaluated. Or at least it's up there at the top of the ones I have evaluated. It has so many safety features. It just drives so well. I know there's a lot of people complain about the acceleration off a dead start. All I can say to you people is the vehicle's not designed for that. Okay, it's got a 2.5 liter engine, plenty big enough for this class of vehicle. It's a crossover. Used to be SUVs, now they're crossovers. Really not much difference. I guess now the SUV is actually designed more for off-road. Crossover is more for city driving with various weather conditions. Okay, let's put it that way. You might have snow, rain, little mud on a flat surface, and this vehicle handles all those conditions beautifully. Okay, now I won't show that in the drivability because we just don't have those conditions right now, but I have driven them in those conditions, and the vehicle operates as designed very well. So let's get to the evaluation. So this is an engineer's evaluation of the vehicle, as I would professionally evaluate it. I'm not going to go through a full product overview because there's plenty of videos out there on that. But I want to actually touch on fit and finish, drivability, interior, and give you an engineer's perspective as to how good the vehicle is. So as you can see, the lines on the fit of the windows and doors are actually really good. I'd actually give those 3.0, maybe even a 4 minus. Same with the doors, very good fit and finish, very nice and straight, nothing out of alignment. You got the sunroof on top, and very good fit on the sunroof. I've seen a lot of sunroofs that don't meet well, and so the sunroof itself, the seal doesn't really seal the water from coming in. It's just more of a dust barrier. The channels, the holes in the channels on the side is actually what drains the water coming down from the sunroof. And then as far as the trim goes, I mean, I did notice one thing is the rear quarter trim for the hatch. It's kind of loose a little bit. It's not really a problem, but I think they could add an extra clip on the end. It's the same on the other side. I could see where if somebody was to catch something on that, it'd probably rip that up over time. So I think they could have done a better job. I'd probably give that a 3 minus. It's not super loose, but it's enough to where I think it could be addressed. How the hatch meets is very nice. Very good fits. Gap a little extra there, but it's within standards. I don't see an issue with that at all. So going on the other side of the body, very nice fit actually. So other than that one component loose, all the body panels meet well. Gas door is a real nice fit and very even. I don't see anything out of place. Same thing with the door. Very good fit. So the fit is very good. As far as doors, the doors are very solid. The closures on the doors are very easy, and they don't have that tinny feel to them. Very good. Now the hood, windshield's very nice actually, but the hood, it's actually got a good fit on the hood, but I'm going to give this a 3 minus because the gap's kind of heavy and there's an issue with that. I'll show you on the test drive as to why that's an issue. Normally it wouldn't be, but in this case it is. So you can see how there's an extra gap. There's no trim or weather stripping to go in there. So I think that's part of what's causing the issue, but I'll show you that on the test drive. The front fit is very good. As far as the actual finish goes, it's beautiful. I don't have any complaints whatsoever on the finish. I'd probably give that a 4 minus on the actual finish. It's very nice paint job, nice color. Now one thing I wanted to mention, more to do with drivability, is hopefully you can see it in the camera, but once you look at the size of those brake rotors, and I'll explain that more during drivability, but the rear measures out to about 12-inch rotors, but now look at the front. The front, and it's got these massive 14-inch rotors, and the braking on this vehicle is just absolutely amazing. I'd probably have to give it a 4.0 on braking, and really makes a difference. And you'll see that in drivability evaluation itself, how well this vehicle brakes. Other than that, I have not seen any issues on this vehicle, and it's just all-around beautiful vehicle. And then next, let's take a look at the interior. Okay, for interior evaluation, not disappointed one bit. It's a very nice feel, very good job on the pleather or leather, whatever they're using for that. I doubt it's real leather, it's probably pleather. And but it's a very good fit, has a good feel to it. Stitching's very consistent, don't have any problems at all with the stitching. As you can see, it's really a good job on the stitching. The seating they're just gorgeous seats, very comfortable. I like the fact that it's got the pleather or leather. I'm not sure if it's leather or pleather. I'm going to suspect probably pleather because of the price range, but I'll have to look into that and see if it's actually leather or not. And then in the center is a nice suede, so you don't get that hot, squeaky, crumbly feel when you get into all leather seats. So it really complements well with the bolsters and sides and things like that. Very comfortable seats. As far as the stitching, I have not seen any issues whatsoever in the stitching. It all meets very well. It's got good tight stitching, a very consistent stitching, and so I don't have any complaints whatsoever. I'd probably have to give this a 3.5. Only because there's a little bit of separation on the stitching, but not enough that I think that's going to cause an issue. I think it's going to be fine and last long. If it wasn't for that, I'd probably give it a 4 minus, but I'm going to give it a 3.5 rating on that. As far as the let's get this down. Well, somehow that comes down. I haven't even taken this down, to be honest with you, so I don't know. Let's see. There we go. I had to pull got the nice cup holder and the headrest there if you're got a third person in the seat, but very nice fit. No noise, doesn't make any noise when you drive, so there's nothing loose on it. It's a very nice complement to the back seat there. All the floor mats fit very nice. And then the front, I like the plain and simple dash. Very nice. The dash itself fits very well. No gaps or anything around the window. So stitching still very consistent, and very attractive dash. Got your infotainment center. You got your AC controls, front and rear. Got your shifter, and which is a fly-by-wire shifter, and then you got your drive modes there. I like the cup holders. They got the nice little expandable units. Good fit on the Center console glove box here. The seats itself, again, very good fit, consistent stitching all the way around. So the sides and bolsters are very well done, very well stitched, very consistent. I haven't seen any issues whatsoever with the stitching. Same on the passenger side. Do want to mention this has the 10 speaker Bose system on this model. This is the SE with the tech package, which gives you the bigger display and 10 speaker Bose system, full digital display, and interior, everything's just such a good fit. I mean, I'd have to give it a actually I'd have to give it a 4-. It's just so well built and so solid. The doors shut nice. Got no complaints whatsoever. Okay, let's take it for a test drive and show you a couple of things I noticed on the test drive. But as far as features go, it's just a beautiful vehicle. It's got a nice infotainment system. I got Sirius XM hooked up. It's really nice to have, but it's got the 5G Mitsubishi Connect on it. Really adds a lot of nice features. The dash is a beautiful, I believe it's 9.6 inch. I haven't measured it. All right, we're going to do a drivability evaluation. Look for noise, vibrationness, harshness, any loose components. You can see it's got the beautiful digital display, which you can change on the fly. You've seen that on plenty of other videos, how you can change that, so I'm not going to go into selecting all the features. It's got a beautiful infotainment center. There's your drive selector. Now to go in reverse, you got to push the button, go up, and that goes into reverse. To go into drive, go down. If you put in drive again, it goes into manual mode, and then you can use the paddle shifters. Okay. And then put it into down drive mode again, and that puts it in automatic mode. Now if I go up without pushing the side button, that actually puts it into neutral. And then to put it into park, push the park button. Now one of the features it has, you got the park button here that you can push, but it also has the auto hold for brakes. So with that on, you come to a complete stop. You can let your foot off the brake and it'll hold the brake until you give it gas. And then of course you got the wireless charging station down there, and then you got your USB 1 and 2 ports. You got the USB-C, the USB-A, and then you also have a general accessory plug there. The AC is very quiet. It's on right now. If you turn it up, turn the temperature down, you can hear it come on. But it's still very quiet and it works excellent. Never had a problem with cooling or heating on it. So let's turn that up a little bit, kick the noise level down. But it really works well. I'd have to give the AC system a 3.5 rating on that. It just works so good. AC and heating. The drive modes work really well. If you look at the dash, you can change this mode here from Eco to normal, to tarmac, to gravel, snow, and then mud. And if you look on the dash there, You can see how it changes modes as I change it from mud to snow to gravel, tarmac, normal, eco mode. And that just changes the programming in the computer for the mode you're in, but it also controls the all-wheel drive braking to apply power to various wheels under various situations. You can feel it from when you go from normal to tarmac. You can feel the vehicle definitely stiffen up. The steering wheel stiffens up and has a nice sporty feel to it. Once you go into gravel, snow, and mud modes, it just changes the braking to the different wheels to apply power to the different wheels, and it works very, very well. So I'd have to give it a probably a 3.0 to a 3.5, depending on situations. But I think overall I'd give it a 3.5. Nothing gets a 4.0 unless it's just absolutely amazing, and never do I give a 5.0 because there's always room for improvement. So let's take it out for a drive. Okay, let's take it for a drive. We're going to put it in drive mode. There we go. Got to hit it a little further, and so let's take it around the block here. Very quiet vehicle. One of the other things I wanted to mention is the dual pane driver and passenger side windows. I guess you could say dual pane windshield, but all windshields are dual or tri-pane with the, if you count the little film that goes in between it. So I mean that's kind of a moot point, but the side windows does have dual pane windows, which helps with quietness. The sound deadening material in the vehicle is very good and very quiet vehicle to drive. Okay, let's take it down the road. And we'll do some drivability. Now I want, the braking on this is just absolutely amazing. It's got a very firm braking, very solid braking, and just stops so well, and that's because of those huge rotors in the front on the disc brakes. Those 14-inch rotors really make a huge difference. 70% of your braking's done on your front wheels. So now acceleration is actually very good. Okay, there's been a lot of comments about acceleration being poor. You know what? It's this class of vehicle doesn't need turbo or supercharged. It's more of a luxury vehicle with all-terrain conditions on flat ground. It's not designed for four-wheeling or anything like that, really. It's just not that class of vehicle. It's a crossover vehicle. Come on. So give me a break. But I've been up heavy grades, 7-mile grades with at least 10 to 15% grade, and 4 people in the car, and go up 80 miles an hour, no problem whatsoever. And that's in part due to the engine is adequate. It's a 2.5 liter engine, and which is more than adequate for this vehicle. If you're looking for more than that, go find a vehicle with a V6 or a bigger 4-cylinder, but 2.5 liter 4-cylinder is more than adequate. Now, one thing I want to show, I don't know if you can see it, and get worse on windy days, is the hood flutter. If you can see that hood flutter right there, and on windy days that really bounces. So when I have people in the car, they're actually thinking that the hood's loose, and if you look at the edges of the hood, they're not fluttering. So it's actually the top sheet needs to be better secured to the heat to the hood itself. Now on windy days that gets really bad, and out here in the desert it gets really windy. So as far as the hood flutter, I'm going to give that a 2.5, and the reason I'm going to do that is on windy days it looks like that hood's about ready to lift off if it gets windy enough. So I think they can address that with some maybe some sealer of some kind to go into the hood there to kind of tack that hood down, but it probably should have a redesign to where it's actually welded or refastened into the substrate of the actual hood itself. So that's probably one of the biggest issues I see with this model. If you go in the dirt and off-road, you really don't notice it a lot, but when you're on a regular road, hitting high-speed bumps and stuff, that hood really starts to flutter. And so to me, that's a pretty heavy issue. Let's make it back. I'm not going to do any gravel tests because that's kind of moot for an evaluation, really. If I was doing a gravel test, I'd have an actual gravel, snow, mud course that I could drive it on and give it a good evaluation. But the little bit I've driven it on off-road in the desert here, it just handles absolutely beautiful. No problem whatsoever with the all-wheel drive. So in terms of the all-wheel drive, I'll give it a 3.0. It works very well. Everything could be better, but it works very well. So now let's do it from a dead stop acceleration. And it's a 4-cylinder, okay? It's got plenty of pep. People have complained about the acceleration being poor, but with the 8-speed CVT, it's just tuned so well. I mean, I'm going to give it a overall, just the way the programming is on the CVT, I'm going to give it a 3.5. It's really that good. Dead start, yeah, it's going to lag a little bit, but you get off the dead start, and it's got plenty of power. It just really takes off. Plus, you got the paddle shifters too, if you want to keep the RPMs up. But it's tuned so well with the ECU programming on the trans on the CVT that it keeps the RPMs up like it should, and you just don't get any dead lag like you do on conventional transmission, a 4 or 5-speed transmission. So I got to give this a 3.5 in terms of drivability, acceleration, dead start acceleration. Okay, yeah, probably a 3-, but it still operates as designed, and that's the key thing. So the biggest issue I've seen is that hood flutter. That's probably the only issue I've seen that Mitsubishi really needs to address, is that hood flutter. And other than that, it's just an absolute beautiful vehicle. So now the braking on it again is just, you just barely touch it and it really slows the vehicle down. The other features I wanted to mention and evaluate is the My Pilot Assist, which you have the lane departure warnings there, which actually vibrates the car if you get out of the lane. but above 37 miles an hour, you can actually turn on the cruise control. And if you watch the center dash there, it will actually find the road. Now this road might be a little difficult because there's no white line on the right side of the road, and it looks like it's having a little trouble finding the center of the road. So the My Pilot, I'd probably give it a 3.0, only because it works beautiful when you have marked road. I mean, it just works amazingly well. But on these unmarked roads, I've noticed that it will cut off and sometimes steer out of your way. So you definitely got to keep your hand on the steering wheel when you're using the My Pilot. But when you're on a good road, it works amazing. It tracks right in the center of the road, and so when you have a good road, I'll probably give the My Pilot a strong 3.0. But when you're on an unmarked road, or if you're in bad weather, it's going to deactivate itself. And one of the other issues where I would give it a 3- to a 2.5 is if you have any K-rails, the angle on the K-rails have a tendency to fool or deactivate the My Pilot Assist. If your hand's not on the steering wheel ready to go, you could actually go into a K-rail. So I think the vehicle will kind of steer you out of the K-rail, but there's still that possibility, I'm sure. So it looks like it hasn't found, because if it did, both these white marks would be gray or green. And I just put my foot on the brake, so it shut off. So we're going to turn around, see if we can find a better marked road. Okay, I'm on a better marked road where we can actually show you how the My Pilot Assist works. So you got to get up at least 37 miles an hour. And now I'm going to engage it. We're at 55. Now notice that it recognizes speed signs, and you can have the setting on where it will change your speed according to the speed limit. And I actually love that, because there's a lot of state troopers out here, and they will catch you, and it's nice to where it will change the speed on you. So, but you can see the green, I mean, it's recognized both markings on the center lane and the outer lane, and it just works beautiful. You can take your hand off, but if you leave your hand off too long, it'll give you a warning. I'll show you that. And there's the warning. And then you just gotta touch the steering wheel, and it'll put it back on track. Now, you're probably wondering, will this handle turns? No problem whatsoever. It will actually follow the curves of the road, and normally it stays right in the middle. So that's why I probably give it a 3-. Sometimes it has a tendency, especially on windy days, to track out, but works very, very well. You're on a long drive, it really reduces the fatigue. You can bring your feet up, and really a nice feature. I call it autonomous assist. It's not really autonomous driving, but it's pretty close to it in terms of how it assists you in your driving. So we're going to come up to this small S curve here just to show you. When we come up to it, I'm going to take my hand off the steering wheel just to show that it will follow the S curve. We're doing about 55 miles an hour. In fact, we are doing 55. And here we come on the S curve. And my hands are completely off the steering wheel, and you can see how it's following the S curve. There's my warning to get my hand on the steering wheel, but that's the car itself steering. That's not me. So it really does a nice job, and really impressed. So, drivability factors, good power. I don't know if you notice here, the vehicle in front of me slowed down, the vehicle slowed down to it. If you're in stop and go traffic, it will actually come to a complete stop if you're in stop and go traffic with the My Pilot Assist on. And so that works really well. I'll give it a 3.0. I have had a couple of times where a vehicle cut in front of you real quick, and it was questionable whether it was going to slow me down in time before I hit them. But that's the warning I say, is keep your hand on the steering wheel and keep your foot close to the brake in case you got to do it. Now, the other thing I like about this is backing up. I almost hit my garage door one day, and the car actually stopped before actually hitting it, so it saved my car. So overall, I'd have to say this is probably one of the safest vehicles I've ever driven. In combination of the actual braking system with the huge brake rotors, in addition to the lane departure, the My Pilot Assist. It's just one of the safest vehicles I've ever driven. Really a beautiful vehicle to drive. The evaluation's complete. Fit and finish was just absolutely beautiful. Other than the rear liftgate trim, just actually beautiful. The only issue was the hood, and I think it has to do with there's about a 1/4 inch gap on the hood. And I think that allows too much air to come up underneath the hood there, and causes the hood flutter itself. So I gave the hood flutter a 2.5 because it is an issue. It's a concern the Mitsubishi needs to address. I wouldn't be surprised I wouldn't see a field fix coming out shortly to address that. It's not really a safety concern, but it could be. Okay. So that's why I give it a 2.5. The safety part of it is, if a driver that's not an experienced driver sees that, they might think the hood's coming loose on them. They might panic, pull over, cause an accident, something of that nature. And that's why I call it a safety issue, okay? And that's why I gave it a 2.5. Me as an experienced driver, I'm not concerned with it, really, but if a field fix comes out, I'll most certainly take it in and get it addressed, okay? So, and then on the rear tailgate, the trim, a little bit loose, not really a big issue. I gave that a 3-. Some people may complain, but I think they could have done a better job with the fasteners on that rear trim on the tailgate. The rest of the car was beautiful. You saw the huge, massive disc brakes on the system with the huge rotors. You normally don't see that. You usually see 10, 12-inch rotor in the rear, 10, 12-inch rotor in the front. And this has got the 12-inch rotors in the rear, or at least that's what it looked like when I was measuring it through the rims. I didn't actually take the wheels off and measure them, but it looks like 12s in the rear, and the fronts are bigger, 14-inch. You just don't see that. That's really a good safety feature. So I was really impressed with that. In terms of drivability itself, very quiet. I know a lot of people have mentioned the acceleration. I don't see a problem with the acceleration. From a dead stop, I could probably give it a 3-. Some people will complain about it, but, they're probably buying the wrong class of vehicle because it accelerates just fine. It's a 4-cylinder, guys. Give me a break. And it's a crossover vehicle. It's not a sports car, okay? It's a crossover. So the engine is perfect for this class of vehicle. It's not designed to sit there racing off a start. It works beautiful. They could probably, maybe off a dead start, address tuning the ECU to better accommodate dead starts on takeoff. But once you get up to a reasonable speed and get your RPM up around 2,800 RPM, vehicle comes alive, and it just works beautiful in all scenarios. I've had 4 people in the car, did not lug one bit. The tuning of the transmission with the ECU keeps the RPMs up to where it's not an issue. And I know a lot of people have concern about CVT transmission. The early CVT transmissions where they did have some issues. Some of them were belt driven, some of them are chain driven, and CVT's like an old drill press where you change the belt on the different cogs. Well, it's the same thing on CVT. You have a primary and a secondary side, and one side has movable I'm not even sure, clutches, I guess, goes in and out and raises that belt bigger and smaller, or bigger diameter, smaller diameter, and that's actually how you get your speeds. So I guess if you abuse the vehicle, yeah, you could trash the transmission, but they're pretty stout these days, and pretty much perfected. For this class of vehicle, I can understand the design, why it has a CVT transmission, the capabilities for drivability and shifting and keeping the RPMs up, and for driving all conditions is just beautiful. It's perfect for the vehicle. So I understand why they use a CVT, and I actually love the CVT, and it just works great. So the noise, beautiful. I mean, there's probably one of the quieter vehicles I've driven. Yes, I've driven some other quieter ones, probably a little more quiet, but they're usually running a V6 engine, probably like a Lexus or a GM or vehicle or something like that, a higher end vehicle. And yeah, they're probably a little more quiet, but for a 4-cylinder, it's beautiful. It's really, really one of the quieter 4-cylinders you can get out there. So overall, I'd have to probably give the vehicle a 4- rating overall. That's not to mention there's a couple of issues like the hood flutter. I think that needs to be addressed. That's a 2.5. The interior is beautiful. The seams are real nice and tight. The stitching is very consistent stitching. I've seen vehicles in the past where stitching is not so consistent and a little bit loose and so forth. So the bolsters are nice and tight. In the fit of the interior, usually around the windshield, you'll see maybe the fit's not quite right or something. It's beautiful in this, and so it's an absolutely beautiful vehicle. It really is. It's thumbs up for Mitsubishi. That's a nice vehicle. The only thing I ask Mitsubishi, address your hood flutter, address the rear trim on the rear hatch, the side trims, and maybe investigate into better tuning from dead start of the CVT transmission with the ECU. And other than that, I have not seen any issue with this vehicle. It's a beautiful vehicle. So that's it for my professional evaluation. There's a lot of valuations out there I think are kind of BS, and I'll tell you why I think they're BS, because they're not professional engineers, and the evaluation doesn't fit the class of vehicle that they're evaluating, so they give it a lot of bad press because of that. And for this class of vehicle, it's a home run. It's a major hit. It really is. So that's it.